Hey YouTube, um, my name is Daniel. Nice to meet you all. I want to tell you the story of how I reached financial independence in about 4 years. There was a moment where work and my boss pissed me off so much that I knew this couldn't be it. Like, there had to be more that life had to offer, but just work in the 9 to 5 grind, being yelled at by a boss for stupid things. So I realized I had to do something about it. And that was the day I discovered financial independence, and that day changed my life forever. So first off, what is financial independence? Financial independence is when your passive income, or can also be incomes from other sources, exceeds your monthly expenses. And once that happens, you are financially free, and you can essentially tell your boss to go pound sand, and you can quit your job, do whatever else you want. So in my opinion, a very, very worthwhile goal, especially if you, like me, dislike your job. There could be many other reasons of why financial independence is a worthwhile goal. I mean, here in the US especially, vacation time is basically non-existent. I started on 15 days of vacation with my company, which is a German company, by the way. And now we're having our baby soon, and I get 1 week of parental leave, 1 week. A lot of other companies in the US, they're kind of catching up maybe to the 3 months thing, but a lot of other bigger employers are not there yet. So if you want to buy back freedom, or if you're scared that layoff season could come soon, which one right now is going on in automotive, we just went through a big one in tech. So that job that you perceive as maybe a safe W-2 job might not be so safe in the future. Especially if you're a younger guy, you might realize that your pay is way below some older guys in your company, and your performance might be way higher. So for me, for example, I was doing the work of about 4 or 5 engineers because everybody in my team quit, literally everyone. And the merit increases that we get annually were within a few percent of older people in the company, even though it's sometimes like pulling teeth to get them to do any work. So if you don't like the structure that corporations have, and everything goes according to the rules, financial independence is something that you should really look into. So just very quickly about myself. I grew up in Germany. I moved to the US in 2016 with an engineering degree. I started my first job for that company that I actually worked for before in Germany while I was doing my degree. And everything was fine. I think I was hired on with a salary of 62,000 per year, and I didn't have any debt, essentially, because in Germany school's free, which I learned is really a big catapult towards the right direction. A lot of Americans, unfortunately, have a lot of debt. So I started my real first engineering job in the automotive industry under a visa in 2016. Everything was fine for the first 2 or 3 years or so, but I kind of saw that really pressure was extremely high at work, and all of my colleagues saw this too, and that pay did not necessarily keep up with the added pressure. We were application engineers, so kind of at the center between customer communications and plans, prototyping, everybody else. So all of us had a really, really high pressure job, but we were severely underpaid in all of our opinion. And at our company, pay steps are very, very small. So each year, if you're lucky, you get 3, 4, or 5% depending on performance. If you're the worst performer, you still get 3%. If you're the best performer, you get 5%. And that discrepancy just doesn't make any freaking sense in my eyes. So all of my colleagues, they were also immigrants on a visa, and we were all supposed to get our green cards, and they did end up their green cards and promptly quit after a month or so. And I was the unfortunate one who did not get their green card because lawyers filed the wrong form for me. So this means I had to do the work of about 4 to 5 average engineers at the company all at once. And of course, I expected a big raise. So I walk into my boss's office, telling him about all the business that I've won in the last years, and the amount of work that we've been doing, and he knows that I was doing a great job. And he said, okay, Daniel, we're gonna give you a raise. So I was expecting, I don't know, like at least 50-60% raise or something, because the amount of work and the amount of business I was winning at the same time, it was just ridiculous. It was literally off the charts compared to everybody else. So they called me into their office 2, 3, 4 weeks later or something, and they were very happy to announce the biggest raise that the company has ever given to anybody. And it was a 10% merit increase, a potential 10% bonus, and a use of a company vehicle. So for the equivalent work of about 4 to 5 engineers, I was getting like 20 to 25% more pay. And that really opened my eyes. It really opened my eyes. That night I came home and I was looking for ways to quit my job early, and this is where I found financial independence. And I proceeded to read every book about it, basically, and see how I could optimize my way to financial independence the best way possible. And yeah, here we are 4 years later. I've achieved that goal. My wife and I, we are officially financial independent. And I would like to show you how it's done. First off, I want to plug an excellent post by Mr. Money Mustache. And there's a blog post called From Zero to Hero in one blog post or something like that. I will link to it in the description below, and it's really excellent. I recommend you give it a read. He writes, what happens when you can save more of your income? As it turns out, spending much less money than you bring in is the only way to get rich. And effects are surprising. If you can save 50% of your take-home pay starting at age 20, you'll be wealthy enough to retire by age 37. If you can save 75%, your working career is only 7 years. And that really clicked with me. Meaning you have essentially 2 ways to do that. Number 1 is you increase your income as much as possible while not increasing your expenses, hopefully, so that you increase your savings rate, or you decrease your expenses. I think the most straightforward approach and the fastest way is naturally to do both. First, you try to increase your income as much as you can while decreasing your expenses as much as you can at the same time. And both of those things will increase your savings rate naturally. So how the heck do we do that, right? That's really the big question. I was making exactly $82,000 per year. You take out about 6% for 401k because that was also my company's match, so it just made sense to take that, those pre-tax deductions, and then you pay for taxes, healthcare, and all that crap, and I had $55,000 left over. Now, at a savings rate of 50%, I can only spend about $27,000 per year, which is a pretty low level of expenses, and I don't really want to live that poor in my life. And at that savings rate of 50%, like we touched base on earlier, I think it would take us about 16 years to retire. Looking at the calculator, so I could retire in about 16.6 years at that rate. And for me, that was definitely not good enough. I couldn't imagine doing this job for another 5, to be honest. Essentially, I had to, again, aggressively save and aggressively increase my passive income, whichever way I could. And for me, that way was real estate. So within 4 years, my girlfriend at this time, now wife, we bought 8 houses. They were all pretty dilapidated when we bought them. We got pretty good deals on them. They were sitting on the market, some were off-market deals, etc. And we fixed them up with our own hands to conserve cash as much as possible. I'm not saying this is the right strategy, but for us, this is what worked. And we threw in a couple of short-term rentals in there in the last 2 years too. And when you calculate, usually for a long-term rental, you can expect, and I can teach you how to run those numbers, but we were expecting about $200 to $300 per house in cash flow after all expenses were taken care of. So for that spending level that I touched base on earlier, the 27,000 or so, I would have had to buy about 10 houses. Since we mixed a couple of short-term rentals in there and the income of those and the cash flow of those was significantly higher, which we realized, we were able to achieve that goal with about 8 houses. And We sold one of them because it was the worst. Can also talk about that at some point. So now we have 7 houses, and those 7 houses, the cash flow after all expenses are taken care of, definitely cover all of our expenses per month and more than that. We can really live on about $2,500 per month if we wanted to. I prefer like a $3,000 to $4,000 per month expense level, and even that is covered by the passive income after all expenses with our properties. So meaning now, after 4 years of really, really hard work, we are financially free. So my hope for this channel is that I can teach you a thing or two about financial independence. I hope that you also see it as a worthwhile goal to achieve. I want to talk about side hustles. I want to talk a little bit about real estate investing. I want to talk about budgeting. I want to talk about investing. I want to talk about how you can bump up your savings rate while still being happy, essentially, because a lot of times buying things does not necessarily lead to happiness. Happiness comes from within, and the things we do, the experiences we have. So this is my goal for this channel, and I hope that you're along with it for the journey. Now, if you have any comments or if you have any video suggestions, anything that you would like to see, write a comment below. Now, to wrap it up, essentially, I would like to encourage you to think about what you could do with your life if you never had to work a day in your life anymore, or if you could wake up every morning and literally do whatever you wanted to that day. Travel, spend time with family, maybe work on a different side hustle, entrepreneurship, etc. And then start with the first step. That first step should be categorizing your income and expenses and get a no-nonsense picture of where you stand financially in your life right now. What is your income? What are your expenses? What are your investments? Do you have savings? Do you have debt? Prost, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.